This is going to be my first live stream, so it's kind of a test, as well as we're going to talk about something that I've talked about in previous episodes of the channel, and that is Iain's display accessories. My go-to for when it comes to figure stands. They're clear, and the cool thing about Iain's display accessories is that he makes it not only for we got G.I. Joe Classified, but I use his for Star Wars Black Series, so it's wonderful for that. Again, just we guys are learning together. So I know HCC 788, he does his in the evening time. I thought it'd be kind of cool, just as a test to go through this. So we're gonna look at Iain's display stands, and it all started with and I've done episodes of this in the past, so, but this is more fun for shits and giggles. So it all started with the G.I. Joe, the original line from 82 to 94. So I needed to get figure stands not only for my G.I. Joes, but also for my Star Wars. And Iain's is great because he hits all of the buttons. And let me show you why I like them. So for this is what everybody is accustomed using. They came with the 90s GI Joes, but if you look at it, it's all one level. So this is why we get a lot of ankle breakages and stuff. I know HCC, Timmer, they've all talked about how delicate this plastic is. So with Iain's, it's actually at a gradual incline, in the sense that, at the top, and then it gets a little bit more beefier as you go down. So that's one reason why I love Iain's. And plus, your surface area is significantly smaller, and it being circular, you're able to, as you could see here with my tactical battle platform, you're able to stack more figures than just the conventional square ones. So that's another reason why I selected. So since I got some of these new classified figures, and they've been sitting in boxes for the past few months because I've just been so busy with life, and also creating my own comic content, G.I. Joe comic content, which brings me to another cool thing. This past weekend was a great score. I was able to pick up Spider-Man 2099, and that is apparently hot thanks to the Into the Spider-Verse. So besides G.I. Joes, I also offer some tips for Gen Xers coming back into comics, since a lot of the concepts, were new to me, and I had no idea what the hell I was talking about. But it's kind of cool getting back into comics at this stage of life. I'm in my early 40s, so I thought it'd be a good idea to, for right now, I'm just going to fix some of my classified figures and use Iain's display stands. And this is the packet it comes in. So again, you're supporting local small businesses, and not some shady stuff over in another country. This is a person, red-blooded American, that works just like the rest of us. So I like to give my money to people like that, because that's just supporting the whole concept of giving back to your community, keeping the dollars in the community. All right, so I'm going to fix some of these figures that I have. I'm just looking. All right, here's a good example. I never gave Flint his figure stand, so we're gonna do that. So let's open up a package. So another thing that I actually incorporated with my figure stands, if you could see, I started putting a little bit of the, paper putty, paper tack on the bottom, just because any sudden movement and you just don't want a whole bunch of shit falling. So just for reinforcement, they're fine on their own, but I just do this as an added piece of security for my figures. And going live is weird because you feel like there's like a pressure because people are actually watching you. So I don't know how you guys do it, but the cool thing is try to break in that plastic. I think people maybe use a hair dryer. Maybe I should do that like I usually do to expand the figure. So then I'll put the little tack underneath his boot, just push down on it just a little bit to give it some stability. And there you go. So we have Flint, Luke Skywalker. Whoa, sorry about that. And I highly recommend, we have McDowell just did a recent video, and HCC does a weekly Class of Fridays episode. So I definitely recommend everybody watching those. HCC has been wonderful content. I stopped doing my classic reviews because I mostly focus in on the comics. But if you guys have seen what I did with the Viper, and Cobra Trooper, I try to do the mythos, and where it's really 70% the whole mythos behind the character, and then the last 30% is actually looking at the toy. But I decided that I rather let Brian, ACC 788, and McDowell do that. They're better than I am, and I enjoy their content. So why should I bust my ass making videos that my good friends are going to do anyway? So my realm within the HCC 788 verse is to handle the modern comics, and I'm more than happy to do that. So again, I'm just showcasing some of Iain's display stands. And since I have you, let's go through some comics. So we usually do a segment once a week. I know last week I didn't, but pulling 4 to 5 issues that get graded. And I just wanted to showcase the G.I. Joe graded books to have for the fan base so they get a general idea of what the hell, how advantageous this service is. So we're going to look at a few. I've done episodes about them, so my regulars have seen them. If you're new, well, let's start off with this. This was in a recent video that I should move back a little bit. Alrighty. Bear with me, fellas. Like again, I'm learning as I'm going along, so I'm not going to hide that fact. If you want like a professional graded presentation, see go to Hollywood or whatever. All right, so one of the books, let's jump off of G.I. Joe for a second. One of the characters that are getting a lot of big movement is Spider-Woman. A lot of these, like, I want to say group 2 in the Star Wars characters, and a lot of supporting characters behind the main title are getting a lot of support. So this is my Spider-Woman issue number 1. Mid-grade 5.5. I'm totally okay with that. The higher grades you could find for 300 to 500. To me, it's the same book, and a 9.8 or 9.6. They're up there. But the fact that this is a newsstand edition variant actually kind of not 100%, but it kind of offsets that a little bit. If this was a 5.5 non-newsstand, I probably would not have gotten it graded. Well, I still would. I don't really give a shit. But again, it still looks beautiful. I think that's the one thing about modern comics I'm not too keen upon, is this emphasis on getting 9.8s and all this other stuff. It makes things not fun and appealing to everybody. I mean, it takes away from the fact that this is a wonderful book. This is a wonderful issue to have and enjoy. So that's the thing with this hobby as a Gen Xer coming back in. You're not looking at it in a monetary sense so much more as just the pure fun of it. So the next book we're going to look at is G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, issue number 12, newsstand. We talked about it in that episode. This issue gets overlooked a lot because of the fact that I don't know why it gets overlooked. It's really important because you're dealing with the Dr. Venom story arc that just kicked off. So it's besides the Cobra Civil War, the Dr. Venom arc, and you'll know Nate talked about it when he does the recap. So this is the first big story arc in this franchise. And 1 year, actually like a year and a couple months, because remember after issue 1, there was kind of a gap for several months before that got released to the general public. Alrighty, so the next one. The next issue I wanted to, again, we talked about in the episodes, is another overlooked issue, is Special Missions number 1. Now, to a lot of fans, the Special Missions was the closer to what the G.I. Joes we all imagined in our head. There were usually one-off issues that came and went, but they were very intense, and they were more grittier than the main line, A Real American Hero, because of the fact that, sorry, I lost my train of thought, but because it was not for an entire age group. They kind of wanted to go for the more mature, it was like the grown-up version of A Real American Hero. But again, this is a wonderful issue. Herb Trimpe artwork in this story. So anything with Herb is golden to me. I always like that. Alrighty. Again, here's going to be a few other issues that we featured in other earlier episodes, but I think let's mention them again. So, issue number 148. Probably 135 or so, towards 155. The print run was really, really low, and that's why sometimes the people overlook the very tail end of G.I. Joe, or they just concentrate on 155, which is great and all, but there are a lot of the value of these books are actually climbing up. And with issue 148 in particular, there's some errors involved. And I know I go to a really good website. I work with the guy who runs that app, but with this issue, there's whole problems with the newsstand versus direct edition. Sometimes they got flipped backwards where, it was a newsstand, but it had like the direct edition. But there's like 3 variants of this particular issue, an already low print run. So that's what makes getting 148 the collector. You have those gems within a gem. And the same thing with issue number, let me see, pull out this one. The iconic issue number 60. So issue number 60 is interesting in the fact that, there's more than one print run for this issue. You have the regular first run, and then I have the second, but there's another version, the third printing, which was in those 3 issue Just for Fun comics packs. That issue is actually really significant and very valuable to get versus even the first print one, because it was offered in that 3 Just for Fun pack. And again, keep an eye on that, because that's something definitely. I mean, the the cover itself is iconic. It's beautiful. It stands the test of time for all those real fans that are interested in this line. But that added element of getting the low print run or the more difficult. I mean, remember you to get a high grade on that issue, the Just for Fun issue number 63 is almost damn near impossible just because it was in a poly bag. So that's what made it a little difficult to get. Alrighty, so that's another one. And let's talk about, let's see, oh yeah. Oh, here we go. I featured this on the Instagram channel. And this is a big one. Earlier during the Zenith, there was a big popularity about what's going to happen with the Lady J supposed Amazon series that's in development. So, of course, when you got Lady J, you know, they figure about other significant characters. Like, if this is going to be like kind of like a, I guess, CSI version of G.I. Joe is what they were thinking about. It's still in development right now. It hasn't been canned yet. So far that I know about from, you know, some inside reputable sources. But again, this issue often gets overlooked because it's coming right after issue number 21. So 22 is significant as it's the first appearance of Roadblock in Dr. Mindbender, or Funeral General Flag, and Duke's first appearance. This is huge. So that's another target, this issue. I think it has a good character in Roadblock that we saw Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson portrayed. Um, what's his name? He was no Hawk was. I think Bruce was no. He was that was in his character, but Duke was Channing Tatum. That's right. So I know with the GI Joe movie, what the hell is going to happen? It's just, you know, you feel bad. You have all these hopes for that movie to be good. And the fact that a month later, Shang-Chi came out, which was a better version of what Snake Eyes was. I mean, all the people that are upset about the actual character and how he's portrayed, it's not the ethnicity and his ethnic background. It's the fact that the character, you know, kind of disappointed overall, the way it was written and why I enjoyed them. This is the first camo label for a comic book. And it's interesting in the fact that I like these books because they're thin. So if you notice in the retro room, I don't have many of the CGC, PGX. Let's see. All right. Here's a good example. So we have, this is like the traditional, typical slab that people get when they get their comics graded. So this is sketchy, and I've actually had an issue fall and crack the slab, which was devastating. But with Iain's display, not Iain's, but with slabs, they're so thin that you don't have to worry about it falling. Just these little 3M command posts, and you're good to go. So I thought that's interesting. All right, so issue number 22. All right, so issue number 22, definitely a must pick up and something that often gets overlooked. All right, so since we're doing a test, let's talk about issue number 21. And when I scored this baby, I almost broke down and cried because you have to understand that this has been a mission since way back when to acquire this issue. And the fact that prices are just going skyrocketing on this issue, and there's no way it's going to slow down. But it got a mid grade with 5.5, which I'm totally fine with. But because just to have this piece means a lot. And the fact that edition, that's what's just icing on the cake. So even if it's a mid grade, the fact that it's a newsstand along with that is something that really appealed to me. And I got it at a great price. I mean, this would have gotten a higher grade, but if you see, yeah, that basically killed this issue to some people's mind. To me, it was an opportunity. And that's the other thing with these modern comics. They're putting so much emphasis on getting these high grades, almost unattainable. And I understand the value and the grade and how they're, I mean, I am an auditor by trade and data analyst, but you're taking away from the pure enjoyment of the book. I mean, I am flipping excited that I finally have a newsstand version of issue 21. Do I give a rat's ass that I got a 5.5? Absolutely not. But again, there's different people always, I see them post these and you'll see prices like $200-$300. But make sure you look in that corner to see what version it is. If it's a newsstand, if it's a first print direct, if it's a second print direct. Usually the Spider-Man is a great indication to fans on what you have. So again, I wanted just to wrap this up, just a quick test live streaming. We're going to do more of this as I get used to all of the controls and you know. But we talked a little bit about display stands, and now we did a little bit about comics. I just wanted to give a whole smorgasbord. That's the word for the day. If people come across, and again, feedback is definitely great. And I think I'm going to be doing this versus that episode of just picking out the graded comics and looking at them and going through the history like we did in the first 4 weeks. Maybe this would be a better way of just bringing out comics. I don't have a script, so I could just say what the fuck I want, and that freestyling. More people interact. That's great. I got one person. Thanks, dude. But anyway, I love your feedback. How things are going. Thank you for your support and helping me with this little test. This is Shabu RU signing off. How do you stop this thing?